Mink Kok was born in 1961 in Amsterdam. From a young age, he was restless, rebellious, and always searching for ways to make money. He was not interested in school and instead found excitement on the streets, where fast cash and risk attracted him. Amsterdam in the 1970s was a city full of opportunities but also temptations. Drugs, gambling, and illegal trades were everywhere. Mink grew up surrounded by petty criminals, and he quickly learned how to survive in that environment. As a teenager, Kok started with small crimes: stealing cars, smuggling small goods, and selling drugs in nightclubs. These small acts introduced him to bigger players in Amsterdam's underworld. In his early 20s, Mink Kok came into contact with Klaas Bruinsma, the most powerful drug lord in the Netherlands at that time. Bruinsma controlled massive shipments of hashish and cocaine, and Mink was eager to prove himself useful. Kok impressed Bruinsma with his courage and loyalty. Slowly, he climbed the ladder, becoming one of Bruinsma's trusted men. For Mink, this was a dream: access to wealth, power, and international drug deals. Working under Bruinsma, Mink learned how to manage large-scale smuggling operations. He discovered how to hide drugs in shipping containers, how to pay off corrupt officials, and how to move money across borders without being detected. By the late 1980s, Mink Kok was no longer just a helper. He had become a key player in Bruinsma's empire, managing shipments worth millions of euros. His name began to spread through the underworld. With money pouring in, Kok enjoyed a life of luxury. Expensive cars, designer clothes, and exotic holidays became part of his lifestyle. To outsiders, he appeared like a successful businessman, but behind the scenes, it was all crime money. The drug business was not just about money. It was full of risks. Rival gangs, informants, and police operations made life dangerous. Mink Kok understood that one wrong move could cost him his life. Although Kok was not always the one pulling the trigger, he was linked to violent disputes within the underworld. People who betrayed the Bruinsma network often disappeared or were found dead. In 1991, Klaas Bruinsma was assassinated outside the Amsterdam Hilton Hotel. His death shook the entire Dutch underworld. For Kok, it was the end of his mentor, but also the beginning of new challenges. After Bruinsma's death, Mink Kok tried to hold on to parts of the empire. However, rivals like Willem Holleder and John Miramet also wanted control. The underworld became even more violent. Instead of working under someone else, Mink Kok started building his own drug trafficking network. He used his contacts in South America and Europe to continue the smuggling operations. Unlike many of his rivals, Kok had a reputation for being calm and smart. He avoided unnecessary violence and preferred to solve problems through deals rather than bloodshed. This kept him alive while others were murdered. The Dutch authorities knew Mink Kok was a major drug trafficker. Surveillance, wiretaps, and investigations targeted him, but Kok was cautious. He rarely left evidence and always kept layers of protection around him. Kok was arrested several times, but prosecutors struggled to keep him in prison. Either witnesses were too scared to testify, or the evidence was not strong enough. Mink Kok often walked free. Although he preferred business over blood, Kok's name still appeared in violent underworld disputes. Associates of his rivals often ended up dead, and suspicion always lingered over his involvement. Kok's power stretched beyond the Netherlands. He had ties in Belgium, Spain, Colombia, and Morocco. His network became international, making it harder for Dutch police to control him. Unlike flashy gangsters, Mink Kok kept a lower profile. He preferred to look like a serious businessman rather than a street criminal. This helped him blend into society and avoid constant police attention. Kok was rumored to have contacts in law enforcement, customs, and politics. These relationships gave him protection and allowed his operations to continue for years without interruption. The 1990s and 2000s were full of underworld wars in the Netherlands. Many powerful figures were assassinated, but Kok managed to survive them all. This survival increased his legend as someone untouchable. Kok became an expert at cleaning dirty money. He invested in businesses, real estate, and offshore accounts. This made it almost impossible for investigators to track his fortune. Behind the criminal empire, Mink Kok also had a private life. He kept his family away from the spotlight, making sure they lived quietly while he handled dangerous business in the shadows. People who knew him described him as polite, calm, and even generous. Yet, at the same time, he was part of a brutal world that destroyed lives. This contradiction made him a mysterious figure. The Dutch media followed Mink Kok closely, writing stories about his wealth, arrests, and rumored crimes. He became a public figure, though he never gave interviews or spoke openly. As the years went by, cocaine became more important than hashish. Kok adapted quickly, ensuring that he remained part of the biggest and most profitable trade routes. Just like his rivals, Kok was targeted for assassination. Several times, hitmen tried to eliminate him, but he managed to escape. His survival skills added to his image as the untouchable. The Dutch police and international agencies, including Interpol, intensified their focus on Kok. Still, he often slipped through their fingers because of his careful planning. In the early 2000s, Mink Kok was arrested in Belgium in connection to drug trafficking. This was one of the few times authorities managed to catch him, but even then, legal loopholes worked in his favor. After serving short sentences abroad, Kok returned to the Netherlands. By then, the criminal landscape had changed, with the macro mafia rising in power. Even as younger and more violent gangs took over, Kok found ways to remain relevant. His intelligence and international contacts gave him a role even in the new underworld. While many of his old partners were dead, Bruinsma, Miramet, Klepper, Hillis, Mink Kok was still alive. This survival made him almost legendary among criminals and police alike. To this day, Dutch authorities still consider Mink Kok a major figure in organized crime. Investigations into his activities never fully stopped. Mink Kok prefers to stay out of the spotlight now, living quietly and avoiding attention. But his name still carries weight in the Dutch underworld. Mink Kok's story is one of survival, intelligence, and ruthless ambition. From a street criminal to an international trafficker, he lived through decades of bloodshed and still stands as one of the few old figures who managed to escape death in the Dutch underworld.